Apparently, I'm not normal.
No, nobody ever said you were. Are you just now coming to that conclusion, Pontius?
You hold fucking snakes, Robbie. Don't talk to me about normal dumbass.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Getting 10-8. Of course, with me, my partner in crime on most of these episodes, Mr. Mike Pontius. He's we're going to play the game. I promise you, we're going to play the game here in a few minutes after I introduce these other folks. Of course, you know Mike Jones. He's been on a couple episodes. And our newest guest tonight, Mr. Vic Stewart. Now, I say he's our newest guest, but let me tell you something. He's been known to me since we were kids before we were ever paramedics. So if anybody's going to be able to tell off on some stories on me in here tonight, it's probably Vic. He has the most dirt on me. So, Vic, welcome to the show, man. Welcome to Getting 10-8.
Thanks, sir. Glad to be here.
Now, we play a game every episode because every time Mike Pontius has been on, it has never failed. He's been eating supper. So we always play
6:45.
6:45. We always play. What is Mike eating?
Well, the man's got to eat.
I'm gonna give y'all a little half a plate.
Because you've already inhaled the other half.
No, sir. There it is. Let me spin it around. Because you got to get past that blue screen.
Yeah, crab cakes. Crab cakes.
Damn, that's a great guess, Rob. You're smart.
Tell them where you got the crabs.
Horn Island, Mississippi, Gulf of America. Well, I say that because it was on the south side. It wasn't on the Mississippi Sound side. It was on the Gulf of America side.
It was on the clearer side. I got you. I'm picking up what you're laying down.
You didn't want mud crab.
Surf. Do what, Ben?
You didn't want no mud crab.
No, it's sandy out there. Those crabs. I mean, there's the fat is sunshine orange. They're delicious. They're kind of salty.
You know, they always brag about those damn Maryland crabs, but I got to tell you, blue crabs in Mississippi ain't nothing to sneeze at.
No, they don't know. We don't have enough crab catchers here no more, I guess. I don't know. It used to be.
I'm one.
It's going to be a sad story, but people used to drive down Highway 90 starting about June 1st and wonder what town that was offshore. You know,
because it was lit up so much with the crab lights.
Shrimping boats. I'm talking 1,200 shrimp boats.
Mm-hmm.
You know how many bought a license this year to fish? It just opened yesterday.
120.
45.
45.
Wow. 45 shrimp boats out of Mississippi are fishing in the Mississippi Sound right now. We bitch about imports, but we ain't got nobody catching local.
So the blessing of the fleet was a pretty short day then.
Dude, when I tell you that was Mardi Gras in June, there would be 500 boats between Highway 90 and Deer Island. And I'm talking a couple miles.
You could walk from boat to boat, never get your feet wet.
Back.
Yep.
And I mean, boats would decorate. They'd put streamers on the outriggers, and the private boats decorated. And it, I don't know where the hell it went. I don't think it really has a whole lot to do with imports. it's not the same. Casinos took out 17 factories on the beachfront, on the
Yep.
on the bay side, the
Yep.
beachfront side, and man, it has just. And Lori and my wife and I were just talking about the other day. The blessing of the fleet was Sunday. I don't know if anybody even went. Seriously,
Really?
So,
We
but
used to. Hell, I think Vic rode down there with me one year for the blessing of the fleet.
That's been many years ago.
And he ain't even Catholic.
You know, Southern Baptists, when we go to church, we got to be there a while on Sunday.
He was asking who that fella was with the pointy hat slinging water at the boats.
I thought that was a Ku Klux Klan guy wearing black.
no, it was a local pope doing it.
Okay.
The local pope.
He was getting on the boat and wear his cone, his pope
That
hat.
was Bishop Howells.
Yeah, it was Bishop House for a long time.
Yep. That's who we saw.
Yeah, it was
So, all right, Mike, I'm going to let you. Well, you're eating. Mike Jones, why don't you ask Vic some questions while I pour up this beer? Let him get introduced to Gettin 10-8, how he got into EMS and all that crap.
Well, I'll start out, but Vic and I met at Ingleside when we first went on Nikika, and go ahead and fill in some of the blanks there about what we had to do.
Lord, they tasked with me and you with building the hospital on the rig, ordering whatever we needed to keep a man from going in. They said open checkbook to the clinic, medications, equipment. They did not care. There was no limit.
Who said that? Who said that?
And Nicky Shepard with Shale, and then I took it to Norris, and he agreed with him.
I had pretty much told him we needed to make sure that this was going to be the premier sick bay. And y'all made
Well,
it
and
so.
it paid off because we had enough stuff in there that Vic or myself, either one, could run at least 3 or 4 cardiac arrests before we had to holler for help with some more drugs and stuff. We were well stocked.
Oh, yeah, antibiotics. We had more than most of your hospitals had.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Hey,
But
just hold on a second, Rob. So, did y'all go to like Singapore or Hong Kong or wherever?
Ulsan,
No.
South Korea.
South Korea. That's where they
I
built
mean,
it.
yeah, Ulsan at the Hyundai yard. Hyundai.
So we were on the dock, on the quay, building the ship. Every day you're going back and forth.
No,
we didn't meet it until we was in Ingleside.
That's what I was saying. They
Texas.
put single side for the build out.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, that's where they finished it off at.
What they call y'all, the freaking Virgin crew or whatever?
founders.
Founders.
Yeah.
Yep.
In Navy terms, we were plank owners.
Plank owners is what I was trying to get, right?
Well, the leadership team glass that I've got calls us a founder, a Nikika founder.
Yeah.
But the first crews are generally called plank owners. That's the term I was looking for. I couldn't remember it.
I didn't know that. You're beyond me there.
And got a little something here that Vic probably remembers.
Oh yeah.
Turn it sideways. Hold on. Angle it just a hair. We can't see it.
I'm not
Put it
seeing
right in front of you, Mike. Put it in front
All
of
I
you.
see is my ugly self in this camera.
No, pull it right in front of your face. If you pull it off, there you go. Now you can see it.
I can't see nothing.
It's
First oil.
It's an acrylic cube with first oil. The Nikika
okay,
first
yeah.
oil.
That was the operator for the rig? The charter?
That's
That
what
was-
we got right after first oil.
Huh.
Every time a facility comes out, their first oil
Yeah.
that comes in, they pull off about a gallon of it, and they make a bunch of those acrylics, and they give it to the crew that was on the platform when the first oil came in.
That's awesome.
Yep.
All them
So
tree
that's-
hunters have no idea that them little trophies they have on there saying they saved a tree came from oil, do they?
And,
What they
and we
need
were
to do
pretty
is
lucky.
They put it on a wood plaque.
On a wood plastic from oil.
use a chainsaw to cut it down.
Oh,
We were pretty lucky at sail out. There was a tropical storm. Vic probably remembers this tropical storm Bob, and I was on the sail out crew from through Aransas Pass. And when we got just south of about Cameron down in that area, they flew a big bird out and we done crew change en route under tow. And then Vic was on there when it started anchoring, and I come back out and finished up. We worked 14 and 14.
oh yeah. I mean, y'all were way out there. I actually fished around it before I knew Robbie was on there. Yeah, it was before. So like 2007 or 8, I guess.
2003 is when it went out.
Okay, so it's probably 2000. It was after Katrina. So it had to have been 7 or 8, I guess. And then I
Yeah.
went to R10. So that's when I found out this is what you was doing. It's a big rig.
Yeah.
They had the Cocodrie fishing tournament, and at one point we counted 37 fishing boats around the platform within about a 5-mile radius.
Yeah.
I believe it. I mean, it was still kind of tight. It was after 9/11 when they had a pretty big buffer zone around all the platforms, if I remember.
Yeah,
right.
but they'd come in trying to get their bait fish, and
Yeah.
we'd always be looking over the handrail at them. And if we weren't doing anything that was going to, risk falling off the platform and hitting them, we didn't really say anything. But if they got too crowded, one boat coming up and trying to snag some bait fish, we'd leave them alone. But if you ended up with 4 or 5 of them that getting right up under those pontoons, under the cans, that's when we'd get up there on the radio and they'd tell them to clear. And they'd clear because they knew it took one more call and it was going to the Coast Guard.
That's what I was going to say. I remember when we pulled up to it and said, hey, we're trolling around the rig, we're showing fish and whatever. And the guy said, that's fine. Don't tie up. Don't stop. Just keep moving.
Right.
As long as you put your freaking do-rag on your head and pull out a freaking
Hey,
That's right.
RPG.
Don't pull out a backpack.
no backpacks and no tube launchers on your shoulder, I guess that's what you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, look at Vic and that Baptist coffee cup he's got right there.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
What's in that coffee?
I finished mine.
Well, that's H2O.
Okay.
Oh.
That's that processed H2O.
So we used to go to Flint Creek, and my Baptist buddy, who was he and I coached soccer forever, and we're up there. I never seen him drink a beer and that. And we're camped out at Flint Creek, and he was a PE coach. His wife she worked for the bank, I think. Anyway, he pulls out a coffee cup, sitting around a campfire one night. I said, "Willie, what you drinking?" He said, "Baptist coffee." 10 o'clock at night. He said, "Let me go get me some more Baptist coffee." So that's the Baptist coffee joke about the cup.
Yeah. Well, you know how to keep a Baptist deacon from drinking all your beer on a fishing trip?
You got to take another one on the boat with you.
Take 2 of them. They won't drink in front of each other.
You know the difference between a Baptist and a Methodist?
What's that?
Methodists will speak to you at the liquor store. Baptists won't.
That's right. Baptists don't recognize anybody in a liquor store.
Where you from?
Well,
Down here.
Well, in Zawali, they used to have a beer joint there right on the Ward line, and it was wet, and they had a Baptist window that was even open on Sunday, and there was always a line of cars going into the Baptist window.
Where?
Zawali, Louisiana.
Zawali Pasquale, up there by the reservoir.
Yep, up along Toledo Bend.
Yep.
There was a dry parish in Louisiana?
The
Up
wards
north.
1 and 2 were dry, but 3 and 4 were wet, and it was just across into Ward 3.
I don't
North
know how-
Louisiana, Mike. It ain't South Louisiana. There wasn't nothing.
Yeah.
Louisiana, I ain't never seen nothing that didn't have beer or something in it.
Oh, hey, only place you can go get you a daiquiri, and what's going to keep you from getting into that daiquiri is that piece of tape they put over the hole that the straw has to go in.
Yep.
Get that darn straw cover off when I pull on the I-10 heading to New Orleans or back home. I cannot get that tamper-proof, adult-proof straw. That paper straw cover will not. So I just have to take the lid off and drink it.
Can I give you the secret? My son lives in Shreveport. He gave me the secret. He's got one of them big Sonic 64-ounce big styrofoam cups.
Yeah.
He takes the daiquiri and drops it down in there, and he puts a clear straw in it. If it's a red straw, they know it's alcohol. So he uses a clear straw and then goes on down the road.
Sonic straws are red,
Yeah, but he has his own clear straw.
but I would put a red straw in it.
Yeah, for
Sonic straw
the
gotta have a
proper
red-
subterfuge.
Yeah, yeah.
Y'all remember the vinyl stickers you could put on your beer cans back in the
Yep.
80s, 90s?
Wrap around it looks like a Coke can.
But
Yep.
it said cake and Kayla or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And Popsy. But it was the same logo. So if you wrap that vinyl thing around, it can ride down the road
Yep.
all
Yep.
day, every day. I'll be damned.
Oh shit!
What happened?
I just realized I've been sitting there. That's going to be in the edit. Well, no, it won't be. We filmed so much of it, and I had the damn information of participants over there on the side. Now our screen looks right.
Hey Vic,
Hey,
where do you live? You said something about the hog and the smoke, Robbie. So where do you live?
He's 2 miles past the sunlight pump.
In what state would that be in?
no, I'm in Mississippi.
And what county would that be in?
Well, I'm in Lamar, but my property line, I can look over and it's at Marion County.
He pees in Marion County,
Now, I live in Lamar.
but he pees in Marion County when he goes to that fence.
Pool on Marion County. Got to fertilize over there.
And so Marion County for you, Rob, would be to your north on the top side
No,
of Lake.
it's to the west.
Well, that's why I was kind of getting at is the west side of Lamar County.
Yeah, Lamar County and Marion butt up against each other. Marion has got the Pearl River going through it. That's where Columbia and Foxworth is.
That's what I was getting at Columbia. So, okay. You come to the coast much, Vic, or no?
I try to every now and again. I ride motorcycles and
I already started recruiting him, but go ahead and do it, Mike.
No, I ain't recruiting him for that. Did you come to the bike in the coast on your bike?
I didn't this year. It's been a while because of the way I was working, but since I'm pretty much retired now, I'm going to start trying to make a lot more of them.
No, they just had one. I mean, they started something new.
Yeah, I seen that.
And it was an uneventful event, I guess. They had the biker, the blowout at the racetrack the week before,
Yeah.
10 days before. And everybody I talked to said the turnout sucked.
Biking the coast now, is that what they're calling it?
No. You still got the blowout at the racetrack.
Yeah.
And somebody created a biking event 2 weekends after
Yeah.
on the coast, and Treasure Bay was the headquarters.
Oh, okay.
And man, my son's a paramedic fireman down here. He was on the ambulance one day and on the fire truck 2 days. He had to work. He said they didn't do nothing.
No.
It was whisper quiet.
Well, that's a good thing for him. Easy day.
And Biloxi actually started something last year where you had to have a permit to have RVs, motorhomes, etc., tents, pop-up vendors, pop-up food. You don't understand. You put 10,000 cars on a road for basically 10 days. Well, y'all do understand.
Yeah.
The infrastructure is stressed to the max.
Absolutely.
And then you start having all these vacant lots since Katrina vacuumed the coast up to nothing but
That's
dirt.
where people are going to squat.
That's where the motorhomes and people just say, hey, can I stay here? And the landowner, if they get touched, they say, yeah, you can. Well, next thing you know, you got food trucks setting up, you got merch trucks setting up, you got freaking tanker trucks filling up with high octane stuff for the hot rods. I mean, there's so much no bueno involved in it, it ain't even funny. So they said, all right, if you want to sell fuel, you're going to have to talk to the state tax commission. Make sure it's taxed. If you want to sell fuel, you got to make sure you have proper fuel distribution, offloading,
Yeah, yeah. And
Fire.
most trucks don't have that.
I guarantee you, 500-gallon truck in the back of a pickup truck or on a trailer ain't got no. It probably ain't got a grounded rod. Number one, I guarantee you, it ain't got no emergency shut off. It's
Yeah.
probably running off.
Oh, so they're doing it in a mobile tanker. They're doing it in one that you put in the bed of a truck.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yes. So it really got regulated last year, and all the cruisers are like, "Man, y'all trying to run us out?" No, we're trying to keep somebody from walking around looking like they're covered in napalm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they bitched about it. So then they had the Black Spring break in April, and they were right or wrong, man. I don't care. You either do it by the books, orderly, in a lawful manner, or you don't do it.
Tell Vic about the barbecue. I already filled him in on it. Told him he's got two passes for it.
Vic, you got to come your ass down here. Do you like barbecue?
Love it.
Do you like music?
Love it.
Do you like free Baptist carbonated beverages?
I most certainly do.
Um, do you like well, Robbie already said it, free armband, but do you like, I mean, if you didn't have a free armband, do you like $40 for all you can eat barbecue, all you can drink beer, all you can drink soft drinks, all you can drink water, live music from 11:30 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon, and helping people raise money to fight cancer?
Heck yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's our 5th year, dude. And I think we're trying to get old California Jesus here. I don't know if he's going to be able to get out of California. It may have fallen off into the ocean. He may be still being the
That's
life.
Santa Claus. That's why he's got that. He's Santa Claus every December.
You you really do that?
Yeah, I do it. Last year was from December 8th to the 23rd, every day.
Awesome, dude.
We on one of the runs, and I'll have to send the video to y'all. We start out in that morning with the sheriff's department. They have the inmates built a sleigh with light bar, and I mean it's awesome. We start out and we go to Indio, and we go through every hospital between there and Hemet. That's 10 hospitals. In Eisenhower, which is the biggest one in Palm Springs, we saw about 3,200 to 3,400 patients and staff. Day 2, we start in Temecula and area and go through Menifee, and we hit 11 hospitals, and we end up at the Children's Tower at Loma Linda University just after dark. So we see a bunch of folks.
How do you fund it?
Do what?
How do you fund it? Money.
The sheriff's department does it. We had 27 motor officers escorting us. We ride in a pickup that tows the sleigh on a trailer. We stop 2 blocks from the hospital. Me and Mrs. Claus get in there, and we're on a schedule. And they bring the patients and the staff out through like all the sally ports, like the emergency entrance, the main entrance, day surgery entrance, and we go through their parking lot and just make all kinds of racket and wave and everything. It's really heartwarming. I look forward to it every year.
You give gifts out or beads or what other, are you just ho 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 and wave?
Ho 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 and wave, but some of the stops that we make, like at Loma Linda, the kids hospital, we hand out a bunch of stuff there because they actually block off the whole street. But this year, and I got to tell the story, and it hits my heart. I saw this little, about a 7, maybe 8-year-old girl sitting in a wheelchair with IV pump and monitor and all this stuff on her. And there was a little 3-year-old in a wagon. And some said, get out of the sleigh, because I'd been standing there waving at the windows. These kids are in like a 8-story tower, and they got their flashlights shining at the window because it's dark. And I'm down there waving. So I get out of the sleigh and I go down there and I said, now, Santa's checked my list and you are definitely on the good list. What do you want for Christmas? And she looked at me and she said, I just want a heart so I can go home and be with my family.
Holy shit, bro. Thank you.
And
Dude.
her mom said, yeah, both these kids are waiting on heart transplants. Now I'm about in tears.
Yeah.
So I took a deep breath and I said, well, you know what? Santa is good personal friends with Jesus, and I'm going to talk to him, and you keep talking to him too, and we'll see what we can do for you, okay?
I like that.
Then the sheriff stepped in, and and says, we're working for it too. We're out there. I got my detectives looking. We're going to try to find you a heart. So that was heartwarming.
Did they find a heart?
I never could find out. We tried to backtrack it and check it out, but uh, I have not seen anything. I looked for about 3 months, the obituaries, just in case, and I didn't see nothing. Went back to Loma Linda, and of course, they ain't going to tell you anything.
Right, HIPAA.
Yeah.
Damn.
But we do this every year, and last year we even hit a senior group home where all of these people have like Asperger's, autism, you name it, they've got it. Now these people are like 60, 70, 80 years old, and they light up just like little kids do when you come walking in there and throw a big ho ho ho. So we have a blast doing it. That's since I retired, I do more of that and more camping than anything else. Just got done camping, as a matter of fact.
I don't think there's anything better than going and doing that. I mean, it is, they got the local biker group, the Harley group, the Asgards do the Toys for Tots run.
Yeah.
700 bikes do that. And they all end up at the local Harley shop. And every biker's got to bring a present in. And then you've got, there's a couple other groups. You got Keesler hosts the South Region Special Olympics. And that, I mean, this is all in Biloxi. But to what you do, I mean, how many hospitals total do you go through?
12.
A bunch.
Yeah. 12 hospitals.
A dozen.
Yep.
That's awesome, Mike.
And like I said, Eisenhower, you'd have to pull it up on Google Earth because it's huge. I mean, this thing covers like 5 square city blocks. And there's 7 entrances. They've got like day surgery, physical therapy, the emergency room, the main entrance, the West Wing entrance. And we go through there. And the little thing I'm going to send y'all when we get off of here is a little video they put together. And there's a lot of pictures of us and then a little video at the end where we're actually going through a couple of the hospitals. So it's very heartwarming. I got to tell this story. We were on the day 2, and one of the CHP officers come up to me after we had stopped. We was a little ahead of schedule, so we took about a 15-minute break along the side of the road by a Starbucks. This chippy comes up to me and he says, "I want to thank you." I said, "For what?" He said, "That last stop we made, I stopped traffic. You could tell this man was sitting there. He was beating on the steering wheel, and you could tell he was running his mouth and was really upset because I stopped traffic." He said, "When you come by in that sleigh and you was waving and you let out a big ho, ho, ho," he started smiling and he said, "All was forgiven then."
That's awesome stuff right there. That takes a cake, man.
Yeah. We look forward to it.
I imagine they don't stop much traffic for funerals over there, do they?
Only if they're going in the same direction. Opposing traffic usually keeps going.
All right.
But same direction traffic, I'd say 85% of the people will stop out of respect.
I've seen 4-lane highways with median in the middle, and if a hearse comes by, people in the opposite lanes are pulled over and on the side of the road. Right. And especially if it's a military funeral with honors, because you see the flags on the hearse and everything.
Yeah.
You really see them. And like when we lost LaCory, Tate and Reeves, when we lost them, the Hattiesburg Police Department, man, you talk about a town coming out for those 2 gents. It was.
Oh yeah.
It was something.
Well, LA just lost one. He had stopped to help some folks that were on the side of the road, and car wiped him out, killed one of them in the vehicle, and injured 2 others.
Damn.
Yeah.
Where was that?
LA,
Wilshire area.
Mike, I know you do a lot of that volunteer work from over the years of seeing the tragedy you've seen and like we've all seen over the years. And I know it brings joy to your heart to be able to help somebody still to this day, even though it's not medically, whether it just be emotionally.
Well, Vic, all of us know this from all the years that we've worked the street. We have touched the lives of a lot of people, either directly or indirectly,
Yeah.
and that says a lot right there. You may never know it, but I have had on several occasions patients come back after the fact and say thank you. But we touch a lot of lives, either directly or indirectly.
Right, right. And I've had people come up and thank me and tell them I saved their life, and I let them know real quick that wasn't me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was good Lord.
Well, that's why in that book that I wrote, I put angels and paramedics, because how many times have you been in a road ditch with a pen light in your mouth trying to start an IV at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Never.
How many times have you had one of them kind of extrications? You look at it and say, "Oh Lord, how in the heck am I going to do this?" And then all of a sudden it falls into place.
Intubate somebody completely upside down.
Exactly.
I remember I started a mini IV through a busted out windshield until extrication could take place. You start the line with, you're on the hood, laying across that hood, starting your lines.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But now I got to tell a funny story. It has nothing to do with EMS. We was talking about offshore. I was filling in on Pompano for Jimmy Parker, which we talked about in the previous episodes.
God rest his soul.
Yeah. One of the clerks from another platform called me up just laughing. And I says, "What's so funny?" He said, "I just got a phone call from a Captain Smith. Said he was with the Coast Guard and wanted to know that what we had available to repel boarders in case they were attacked." He said, so I told him, "Well, we've got several M16s. We've got 4 divot-mounted 50 cal machine guns." And, he said it went down this whole list. So 15 minutes later, I go out on deck to the butt hut.
Here
and I
comes
look
the
over
Coast
there, and
Guard.
here's this orange helicopter landing over there. They wanted to see exactly what they had for repel boarders.
Lucky it wasn't black.
No, it was orange. It was Coasties.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the thing with the Coasties is they really couldn't say anything to Pompano because they were an 8-pile.
Yeah.
They were a standard platform. So they didn't fall under
National waters or U.S. waters. So, I mean, there really wasn't a whole lot they could do.
Well, I mean, for all the floating vessels, Mike, they're under Coast Guard. Coast Guard can come out there and go through. With Pompano and Amberjack, the MMS was their regulatory agency that went out. But like Nakika, Horn Mountain, Marlin,
Thunder Horse,
all those facilities, they dealt with MMS, which became Bomer,
Right.
After the Horizon incident. They had Bomer and the Coast Guard that they had to deal with. And for a while on Nakika, we had to deal with the NRC, Nuclear Regulatory Commission, because we had some nucleonic devices that I had to go and become a radiation safety officer for us to be able to have that on the facility. So yeah, that was we had regulatory agencies that was on our butt. I guarantee you.
And Nakika, we had the Coast Guard come by pretty regular, sometimes in the middle of the night. Vic can attest to it. We'd have to get up. They'd be going out to a cruise ship or a cargo vessel out past us to pick up a medical emergency. And we'd have to get up and fuel both directions. That reminds me of another funny story. We was on Atlantis, and they had went out to a cruise ship to pick up an old boy, and they brought him back, and he had was down on his back and had several other things going on. Well, he walks downstairs, and I asked the medic, I says, "Is he okay?" He said, "He got 10 of morphine on board. He's good for about another hour and 10 minutes.
Who gave him that?
The medic on the helicopter.
Well, didn't y'all used to get helicopters would if they went too far out, they would leapfrog off of y'all to get to the vessel and back, right, for fuel?
Oh yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah.
Huh. I'll be damned.
So
Service gas station.
Yeah.
I wanted to touch though on Vic. This being his first time, we talked about him being offshore, but it took him a few years of being a street medic before he ever went offshore. Vic,
Yeah.
talk about how you got into EMS itself. What got you interested in it? What was your story before you were EMS? I know you were military. I know a bunch about you, but I'm going to let you tell what got you there.
I'd always wanted to get into it, especially in the military. I tried to go to jump school, but due to too many motorcycle wrecks, burnt both my knees and they wouldn't let me go to jump school. So I kind of got started a little bit in the military. And then when I got out, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up and kind of bounced around from job to job, even got into the fancy schmancy art world and
Yeah.
did that for about 4 years. Then started going to night school while I was at the art gallery there, and it just took off from there. Of course, you taught me a lot when you first got into it, telling me that's the route I should go, and it made that itch grow just more and more.
It's not my fault. Don't blame that on me.
All those years of starving to death and working long hours.
Vic, where were you?
When?
Where at?
AAA, Hattiesburg.
Yeah, AAA that's basically where I grew up in EMS.
Okay.
When I left them, that's when I went offshore. And Lord, I stayed offshore for 17 years. But the first 5 years I was offshore, I still worked full time on my off days. I'd put in at least 40 hours a week on my time off.
He's
And
got
then-
more flight time than most medics do. One, getting back and forth to the platforms, but also he was Rescue 7 medic.
Yeah.
You know Joe Jones then, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah. Everybody knows old Plucker.
That some bitch, he has forgotten more about pharmacology and interactions of drugs than most of us ever know.
Yes, sir.
We knew
He he could teach med school pharmacy students pharmacology.
Well, actually, I was in his very first paramedic class to teach.
Really? Joe
I
was
w-
your instructor?
Joe was my instructor the first year.
He's the one that y'all used to make every time y'all would go to lunch, y'all tell him it was his birthday?
I sure would. They'd come happy birthday and he'd get a free dessert.
Joe Jones.
They'd all come around the table clapping and singing.
I would usually sneak out and take a screwdriver and take his tag off his truck and turn it upside down and put it back on there for him upside down.
That'd get him pulled over.
Thank Joe.
That's old school Rescue 7. I mean, it's my first interaction, and I can't really tell you the year, but it was probably in 1970, 71. We were going from Canton, Mississippi to Gainesville, Florida.
Yeah.
So we're going down Hattiesburg. We get on 98 in Hattiesburg. You turn left. You didn't go around 55. And we come up on a damn wreck somewhere on 98 out of Hattiesburg. And I remember we were in the car. I had a car on the side of the road. And my dad was an ER doc at the time. And he came in, jerked the visor off the front of the car, the drop down visor, and took the scarf off my mama and goes in and told us to stay in the car. Next thing you know, I see this damn UFO landing. I'm watching it circle
That was old Hillard.
highway. And Martian's finna get out of that UFO because I don't remember the show we watched on Saturday morning, Lost in Space or whatever, but
Yeah.
UFO is about to land making a racket. Sure as hell, Rescue 7 plopped down on 2-lane 98, walked over there with that little carrying, it didn't have no wheels on it. Walked over there with that gurney, extricated the dude out the car. I could see that.
Visor and scarf.
Yeah, and the scarf. A UFO took off, took him to the hospital. We got in the car and went on to Florida. That was my first interaction with an ambulance. Not a fire truck. I already told that story.
Yeah.
That was my first interaction with an ambulance.
That was that in '71. Rescue 7
It was brand
was
new.
it was one of the first air ambulances in the country.
States of America.
It was a they were looking at how effective using helicopters in Vietnam was at getting patients from the battlefield to the hospitals where they could treat and save these guys. And they said, well, we got plenty of rural spots across the country that they don't have access to an ambulance quickly enough. And Southeast Air Ambulance District formed up, and Rescue 7 was the first one that rolled out. It was an old Hillard helicopter, which, by the way, went down a few years later, and they replaced it with the Bell Jet Ranger, the 206B.
To a Ranger, it wasn't a MASH helicopter. It was a Baby Ranger, whatever that was you said. And I can
Hillard.
remember it to this day. Yeah, I can remember it to this day. And Forest General was at the time a big hospital in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 or 4 stories.
4.
4 stories. It was big.
Now
And
it's like what, 12?
32 or something like that. It's huge. But that was my first. Damn, that was my first interaction with pre-hospital care, I guess. Huh.
Then Emergency came out on TV, and we all watched that.
Oh yeah.
Johnny and Roy, see what they're up to this week.
Hey, if we had a young buck on here, he'd think you was talking about first emergency would have been Rescue 911. Ah, hell, man, that's 20. Which I was actually on Rescue 911, by the way. 2 boys struck by lightning. Yes, sir. I was a driver. And that was a good show. Rob, what the heck? Dude, you got to be kidding me. What'd you do? Order that with your Ronco Propel Fisherman?
Dude, this is my 3rd grade lunchbox.
Let's see it.
Is your peanut butter and jelly sandwich in there?
No, I broke the damn cup on it though.
A little plastic cup with the handle?
Yeah, that's broke. All I got is the thermos.
Yeah, no shit. You got to find that on eBay somehow.
Should be
this
able
ain't
to.
going on eBay. Oh, the red top?
Cup with
Yeah,
the
if I
handle.
could find a red top, this will be a complete kit.
Man, there's got to be a specific red. I have a feeling that may be valuable.
Now, that didn't have the glass inside on that thermos?
Yeah, it's got a glass inside.
It ain't broke?
Broke. Shake it.
No, wait a second.
Is it a thermos?
No, it's plastic. It's plastic.
The inside?
Yeah.
It was a kid's thing. They put glass in that shit.
It was kids. You couldn't put glass. Is what Dad had in the big black lunchbox with nothing on
the
the
big
side.
Aladdin.
That old.
Aladdin.
Yeah.
The steel, the hammered steel painted thermos. Coleman thermos.
Yeah.
A thermos, thermothermos, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Huh. So hold on. Back to you, Vic.
Yes, sir.
So you started what year at AAA?
I went around 90, I think it was.
Yeah, it had to be 90, 91.
It really don't seem like he's been in it that long because that's like 5-6 years after I started. But
yeah, he did it a lot longer than us though. He just left it.
Beverly, Andy, Chuck.
Still there.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, Beverly's not there anymore. She's a nurse
No,
now.
Beverly left. That's my apology. She did leave. She's she's a nurse now, correct? And still holding paramedic?
Yeah.
I thought she had gone up there with Kevin at ASAP or whatever.
Andy's still there.
Yeah, Andy's still there. Chuck's still there.
Yep.
Truck operations. Andy's over everything, isn't he?
Andy is now, I think, just over the IT department.
Who took over Wade's spot?
Chuck.
So Chuck's the director.
Chuck is CEO.
Okay. Boy, that sucked about Wade, man.
Yeah, I like old Wade now.
Did you get Wade's book?
I never got it.
I read his book.
Well, when did he get that? Right before he died?
I guess.
I
I've got it. I got it somewhere around here. If I can find it, I'll bring it down at the La Cusa.
Huh. That's a good dude, man. I tell
And
you.
you know, Mike's got his book, Angels and Paramedics. I'll bring a copy of that to you to look at too. I'm kind of disappointed. I know the damn author. Do you think my book's autographed? No.
Really?
Hadn't seen it yet.
I wouldn't even review it till it
I'm
gets.
ashamed to say I didn't even know Mike wrote a book.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Not surprised, but
it's on Amazon Books.
I think Vic just slapped you in the face a little. He didn't even know you could read, much less write a book.
well, that's not what I'm saying.
It's in Braille.
Well, I have to learn that because I'm going blind as well as deaf.
You know, I tell you, I never even thought about writing a book, but now that you say that, and Robbie, I told you this before. We talked about it, I think, when we had Bud on here, but somewhere in my attic, Mobile Medic had these, and AmServe had some too. Somewhere I've got them. They're
Little
about,
blue slips.
well, AmServe, they were orange when we started.
Okay.
Changed to blue. But AmServe had them, they were kind of a pale white cream, and Mobile Medic had them, they were a burnt orange. But it was a patient assessment pad. It's called a pad. That's what they called them. We need a book of
little bitty dude, about this big.
It's about 3x4, 3x5.
Fit in your front pocket, no problem.
Fit in your pocket. Yep. I had got them. I never threw them away.
Yeah.
I'm gonna find
You need
them.
to bust those out.
I'm gonna find them. I promise you. And I've looked at them. I promise you, I can remember the call.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, when you
And
when you look at what you scribbled, yeah.
Scribbled is the right word too.
And
Yeah,
some of them calls, whether you look at a note or not, they keep popping up in your memory banks.
Nope. Very few do.
That didn't happen with Mike until he's got something to remind him. Those roll through on my head.
No,
Yeah.
I don't have those calls. They don't exist, and I think that's the reason I never even came close. I'm like, how the hell can you say you don't sleep at night? What the hell's wrong with you? Forget that shit. Go home. I could do it, but apparently I'm not normal.
No, nobody ever said you were. Are you just now coming to that conclusion, Pontius?
You hold fucking snakes, Robbie. Don't talk to me about normal.
And they're in your head. There's a picture proving it.
Yeah, or on top of my head anyway.
Look, I got a snake on my head right now. But I was always able to go to work, clock in, pick up 2 dead babies, 3 dead people, 14 Alzheimer's patients, 2 MVAs, 2 explosions, a burn, get my truck, I clock out, get my truck, go home. How's your day? It was good. And that was it. Never thought about it.
You know, that was me for many years, but here about, I don't know, 5 to 7 years ago, I started having these dreams, and I'm actually working in my sleep. And I wake up barking out orders and let's give this or do that. And
Yeah.
Yep.
When I worked EMS, it was like Teflon coating, nothing stuck to me.
yeah,
And It wasn't until I was finishing my work in the streets career, I had two back-to-back pediatrics that just about done me in. And then I went offshore, and then we had Horizon, which to me was a walk in the park. I done Rob and I, we done what we've been trained to do for years.
Yep.
But as you get older, that Teflon starts wearing thin, and then of course going back to Vietnam, some of the pediatrics calls, it starts eating on you like a cancer, and you get to that point where you got to say, okay, I've had enough. That's it.
Yep. Well, I took a motorcycle ride here a couple of weeks ago. Back through all the rural counties. I went through Lamar County, Poplarville, which is Pearl River, over in Stone County, and I worked all those counties many years ago. And I'm seeing spots where all these accidents took place that I worked, and I'm seeing houses that I've been to, and all that just come flooding back in as
Yep.
I'm passing by, and never even thought about it until then.
Look,
Yep.
dude, there are times when I go down to the coast, there's in Gulfport, there's some streets I don't want to go down.
Yep.
I can relate to that, Robbie. I really can. I tell you, and I say, like I said, you said we've drawn stuff out of each other, and it's there.
Yeah.
I ain't never thought about it until we started doing this.
Right.
Well, this is a therapy session for a bunch of old burnout medics that have ADD and some calls. This is about as close as you can get to group therapy for us.
Yeah.
I have a
Salud.
drink problem. I'm out of drink.
Oh, you do have a problem. All right. That sounds like it's time for us to take a little quick 5-minute break and then meet back here in front of the cameras again.
I like that. See you in a minute.
Eventually.
All right. Now, what are you doing?
I held my hand up, and it popped up a screen that I want to use hand gestures.
I told him he was number one in my book.
So, hey, look, we hadn't even talked about that elephant that's over our shoulder. What do y'all think?
Amen, though.
What do y'all think about the death Doritos that went over there and sent some boring bombs in Iran?
Bring it, baby.
Yep.
More power to it.
FIFO. That's what I say. FIFO. Fuck around and find out.
I
Yeah,
don't think
there
it's
you go.
done, no.
Look, let me tell you what. Those B2s or death Doritos, those son of a guns flew over there, dropped those bunker busters, and got out of there and were never detected by Iran. And people go, well, Iran's got, their old radar is pieces of shit. No, Iran has the best radar that Russia has. But the size of the radar signature for a B2 is like the size of a bird. So nothing's picking them up. And they, until the bombs hit, they didn't know we were there. And then they were over it doing an assessment and then flying back home and never got seen the whole time. All right, the shit blew up. We know they're up there. Where are they? And they couldn't find them on radar. So,
well, see, Ahmed was sitting in front of his radar and he saw a 600 mile an hour sparrow and didn't think nothing of it.
Right.
Yeah, a 600 mile an hour sparrow. That's right.
Yeah.
The whole thing. So stealth is radar. You can mask your signature all day long. The problem in the new stealth is not
Heat
radar.
signature.
It's heat signature.
Yeah.
And they say that the B2,
No heat signature.
well, it does have a little bit, but if you remember the F-111 when it came out back in the 80s, early 90s, it had these freaking air conditioned louvers on the ass end of it.
Yep.
And apparently it took intake air from the wingtips, funneled it through to the exhaust tips, and cooled the thing down. They done got some super high tech shit on this thing now that's got an air conditioner running across the thing. But you know, I was just reading on that, and I love my man, old Orange Man. I love my Orange Man about 51% of the time. Um, the reports I'm seeing right now, um, and he's always been known to exaggerate his successes and whatever.
The best bombing run ever. Best bombing run.
Yeah. Annihilated it, destroyed it. I'm seeing reports now from BBC, and that ain't Big Black Cock, that's British Broadcasting Corporation. Um, I'm seeing reports that it may not be but like a 2 week to 2 month setback. And
If they spirited away some of the materials, yes.
but see, that's a total bullshit call, because if we got a satellite image of a truck outside the freaking dump, do you think we ain't tracking that truck? We know
yeah.
where it went,
Yeah.
but we got live time tracking. So they can take that they took the shit away from there because we gave them warning. That don't matter nothing. You they may have taken it away, but what we were destroying was the factory to enrich,
To enrich it, right.
build, the factory to modify, the factory to turn them into a bomb. That's what we took away or were taken away. If they took the freaking uranium and took it up your ass, it don't matter to me. We know where it went because the trucks are lined up and there's only one way out.
Right.
But I don't know that we did the damage. The BDA ain't come out yet. I've looked at. I am a internet geek, and as soon as I've been reading about Israelis and the Irans and they shooting bombs at shit, I've been on Google Earth, and I'm waiting for Google Earth and whoever they use for their satellite imagery to show it overhead. The ones I'm seeing, they show a couple holes in the ground, a little black dirt, so they shook the dirt up a little bit. It all depends on how deep that shit went.
Well, you
Yeah.
got to understand how them bunker busters work. The ones that they drop are supposed to penetrate down around 200 feet through concrete and steel reinforcement.
Okay,
So if it goes off, it's gonna do the damage down below, but on the surface, probably gonna blow some crap out of it. But it's not gonna be a big sinking hole like a crater like you would expect to see from like a meteor or an asteroid.
it is not going to be it's not going to be a sinkhole like a nuclear test where you got a big
No.
crater, but
No.
there is going to be some disturbance, and that's what they're showing on the
Yeah.
internet. So all the people that think they know what they're talking about need to shut the fuck up, because we may never know
Yeah.
what happened 60 to 200 feet underground. There is surface, and that's kind of what I was getting to.
Yeah.
I don't know that the general public needs to know anything.
No. And the next important question to me is how many of their scientists and their smart aleck folks was down there that are no longer with us?
According to the BBC and other reports, we
None.
called them 24 hours before. Hey, we're finna bomb the fuck out of you. Get out.
Yep.
Yeah.
They gave them warning to let the people get out. But Israel had taken out several of their top dog scientists like a week before.
Plus air
Yeah.
damage. They've taken all that out. So the Israelis had some good above ground shit, and everything you read is the only reason we were there was to go deep.
Because we had the only platform to drop the bunker busters. And what apparently, did y'all see that movie Maverick?
That Top Gun show where he flew through the valley and had to climb up 22,000.
Yeah.
That was what he just did. He shit up. He shit in their ass.
Well,
Yeah.
what it was the same type of program. With that bunker buster, there was 6 of those B2s that went over there.
Yeah.
One dropped one. A few seconds later, the next one dropped one on top of that one. The next one dropped one on top of that. That's how they got the depth. That's what they were saying. That's how they were going to get the depth they needed to get down there to where it could be.
Oh, they softened it up from the air. I mean, I get that part. So they had the original report was they had 7 that had 2 each, so that's 14. And the original wave went through and they dropped 10. And they said, wait a minute. So they sent 2 more or 4 more back with the balance of 4. So they ended up dropping 14. But if you look at the initial Maxar, I think is the name of it. It's got some pretty good satellite imagery. Padros, I mean, you can see 3 distinct crater marks in the ground. Nazan or whatever, there's one crater mark that you can see that you got to go back and look at. But I'm, you know, we're freaking armchair quarterbacks. But at the end of the day,
absolutely.
I don't know that. I've always kind of been, we need to police our home turf first, but
Right.
them don't need a damn nuke over there, period.
Well, you
No.
know, Iran has been at war with us since 1979, though, right?
Been at war with each other since 2000, since zero.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is Iran has been at war with the United States since 79.
100%. I mean,
We just weren't at war with them. They were at war with us. We weren't at war with them.
they don't like America. I mean, you can go back to Tehran and the hostages and the Marine barracks. And were you in the Marines, Mike, when the barracks got bombed? Or are you not in there?
I was out already.
Okay. Then you had Gaddafi in Libya. So Iran, Libya, those son of guns are wackos. They are extremists to the core, anti-American, anti-democracy, equal,
Israel.
you name it. I don't know what's going to happen. In my mind, I don't know.
Just have to wait and see.
And I don't know that. Now, apparently there was a grenade somewhere today in the U.S. Y'all see that?
No.
Something
No.
for a grenade. Maybe it's an airport or train station. I don't know. I don't think that we need to let our guard down, and I think that securing the border is one thing. I'm all for immigration when you go through Ellis Island.
The channels. Fill out the paperwork.
Yeah. Last time.
I just don't think that if you ignore the laws and due process coming into the country, you deserve any laws or due process on the way out.
Exactly.
Bounce your ass across the wall and hope you don't land on the back of somebody.
What other country would let us do that?
None.
Dick,
Try busting into Mexico, see what happens.
Right.
now, let me take it simpler. Go to China and buy a house.
Exactly.
All day you can go to China and buy a house. It ain't happening, Cap.
No.
But what worries me is the last 4 years, the 15 to 20 million that come across the border. How many sleeper cells have we got here in the United States? That worries me more than anything else.
Well, I'm going to take that back. I'm going to throw that out. That's not even a rational argument because the Russians have been infiltrating us since the 60s.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Or 50s.
So that's going to happen. There's people going to come into a freaking unmanned submerged vehicle into freaking, what was the name? Where did Red Dawn go when they went up in the river, the Penobscot River? That shit's
Yeah.
going on. But the people jumping the freaking border wall coming in here claiming they're Guatemalans, but they're really freaking Chinese nationalists or Russian Chanenkos or whatever. That shit, we need to try to get. You're going to get some bad people come through, period.
Yep.
But let the legal people. It's like it. We need gun laws, man. We don't need a fucking gun laws against.
We
law.
got gun laws.
It's against law for me to shoot you, Vic or Mike or Robbie. So I need to serve my time, but don't punish me for having a gun. I mean, what did y'all read about the church the other day in Minnesota or Michigan?
Yeah.
Or where?
Yeah. Get F-150.
Yeah.
He came to the
Did
wrong
the job,
church. Wrong church. Sorry.
Yep.
I regret to inform you that your husband came to the wrong church to rob and kill the wrong people. So you're welcome to join our congregation, but your husband ain't welcome here. Goodbye.
Yep. That was Michigan.
Michigan, exactly where it was. He went to the wrong church to commit his act, but I don't know, man. Hey, two things. I'm finna take the table. 2 seconds. One is Rick Fayard. I love
Yes,
him.
sir.
And I'm gonna get him on here. And I was actually the supervisor that day, Unit 3. But I wasn't the one that got there. Unit 1 got there. We had a station in Orange Grove, and it was a damn old professional office building. It was more of a stabbing cabin than anything else.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, hey, that's what it was back when it was still Mobile Medic, too.
It was a stabbing cabin. And I ain't talking knives. And Fayard, goddamn, we got to get him on here. And I talked to him. He wants to do it.
All right.
He's still working offshore, 64 years old. I don't remember who his partner was. That son of a bitch is asleep. He is snoring like a chainsaw.
Oh, yeah.
He's on the sofa like this.
Peeling the paneling off the walls.
He must have stopped snoring long enough. Unit 1 goes in and walked over to him and kneed him into his chest. And Unit 1 will tell you this story to this day. He's Fayard's on the sofa like this. He gets kneed in the knee. He says, "Amen."
Amen.
Amen.
I wasn't sleeping in church.
Amen. Unit 1 laughed and walked out. There was nothing he could say. And I don't know what my other story was now. What was
Well, yeah. If you can get Rick on here, we need to have him on at some point. Hey, look, I need to, Civitan Camp's coming up, which is a charity that I volunteer at for those that don't know about it. Civitan Camp is a camp for children and adults with cognitive disabilities. And I've been volunteering with them. I started back in 1977 as a counselor, worked my way up doing night patrol. When I got married, had kids, I could pull a night or two here, there, and then I kind of got away from it when the kids got big enough where I had to be home. And I went back to camp, started going back in 2007, and I've been going back ever since. I've been Captain Rob there. So I run the fishing activity at Civitan Camp. So for those 2 weeks, Mike, I need to get some of these episodes in the can that will be able to go live on Friday mornings. So I'm going to be reaching out trying to get some episodes just squirreled away and in the can. You going to be...
we need to focus on what you do there. And we need to, what does the camp need? Is the pontoon still working?
Pontoon boat's still working. We've done a lot of stuff to it. We replaced the deck that was on it. We still have, the reason we got that pontoon boat, when I got back out there at camp in 2007, a lot of the campers that were kids when I was a counselor and a kid, my damn self, are now full-grown adults. They're just like me. They're big old boys just like me, and some of them in wheelchairs. And because they were so big, we couldn't get them up out of their wheelchairs and into canoes and put them out on the lake, because if they shifted wrong, they were going to swamp the canoe. And now we've got a camper that he's in a life jacket, but he's still floating in the lake, and we could swim him in. But it's just not the safest way to do it. So I got to studying on it and said, we need to get a dang pontoon boat like the ferry that runs between Algiers and the Algiers ferry to get you across the river.
That's a
we
stretch.
we can roll those campers onto the pontoon boat. So I started doing everything I could to raise funds, reaching out where I could. BP had a employee run chance to get money. It was called the Fabric of America Fund, where I could go around and BP employees could donate $500 to this charity. And I went around like a salesman, hey, do you have a charity that you're really thinking about putting this money towards? I didn't even know I could do that. Well, let me tell you about my charity. And the thing about Abby Rogers Civitan Camp, and Mike, we've touched on this in a previous episode. This camp is 100% volunteer driven, and it's 100% donation driven. We don't. Excuse me?
Free to the campers.
No, a lot of them have what we call scholarships that people.
That's what I was getting at.
They've got scholarships, but most people that are able pay $150 for a week for their child or adult to go to camp. $150 just as well be free. They eat more than $150 in that week that they're there. So it's very low cost to the camper. But, we're buying arts and crafts supplies. And what we don't get donated, the camp we buy from an endowment fund that we've piled money into to make sure that this camp lives on. Abby Rogers and Angel on Earth started this camp in 1961. When in a lot of places across the country, people with Down syndrome were hidden away from the public. People wouldn't take them out in public. They were ashamed that they had somebody in their family that was Downs. So Abby was a special ed teacher, and she said, well, not my babies. So she started taking her class on field trips, into Hattiesburg, to these different restaurants, teaching the manners, how to act in public. And she wanted people with neurodivergency or medical issues like trisomy 21, aka Down syndrome, to be accepted in the public for who they were. And so one of the things they did, they started this camp. And they started the camp at Camp Teot, which was a Boy Scout camp that they had 18 campers and 18 counselors and like 4 or 5 staffers that stayed out there with them. And they stayed in tents, and they had a latrine. They didn't have a bathroom. They had a latrine that was a hole in the ground, and like a military latrine in Vietnam, Mike. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Talking about too.
And then they had they did have showers. You pull the triangle and you got water coming down. It's cold water. There's no hot water. They didn't have a swimming pool. They had a pond, and that's what they swam in. And camp didn't start until Buddy Lee ran down that pier and jumped in the lake. That's when camp started. That started camp, when Buddy Lee jumped in the lake.
Who's Buddy?
Buddy Lee we called him the Godfather. Buddy passed away maybe 2011, 2012. Buddy had Down syndrome, and he was we called him the Godfather because he was there at the original camp in 1961. He went to that camp for 50 years. So,
wow.
And that was his highlight. That was his vacation every year. And, that was his big thing. He'd go, and it wasn't just jump in the lake. He belly flopped into the lake. That's how he started off. When I got to the camp in 77, the camp had moved over to Itakana, which was a Girl Scout camp, which they had a lake too. Their lake's about 30 acres though. They also had an Olympic-sized swimming pool, which was freaking awesome. And what drew Abby to it, wait, you want to let us come to your camp with hot and cold showers? Yes, absolutely. We will move the camp there. And that happened in the early 70s. And they've been at Itakana ever since. Itakana is owned by the Girl Scouts, and
Who's that, Rob? Laurel?
no, it's just north of Wiggins off Highway 13 in a little place called Carnes, Mississippi.
That's right. It's between 49 and 55.
59. Yeah.
59. Yes, that's right. I've said it before. I just couldn't
But I
remember.
mean, it's right off of 49. You're closer to 49.
Yeah.
And so that camp has been a blessing for not only those campers, but all the counselors too. My kids started out as staff brats, and then they were old enough they were counselors, and now they're old enough and they're staff. So, what's weird is when your kid is a staff member like you are at camp. That's kind of weird when it first happens, especially when your baby becomes a staff member. And Ryan, he's down at the lake with me. He's a lifeguard at the lake. So, my kids were there, and it was just you want to teach a kid unconditional love, bring them into a camp where they're meeting these angels on earth. And service and being humble, it's life lessons galore. 2 weeks I drag them, put them in that camp. We'd be in camp, and what they got from it, and what I got from it when I was a counselor. I wouldn't be the same guy I am now. I'm neurodivergent myself. I have a problem with keeping up with names and keeping up with people, because if it's not affecting me right now, I don't give a shit about all this over here. But when you have to focus and work with these people, it really opens up your heartstrings and made me a better medic. Because when I had to go and pick up a patient that was neurodivergent or medically diagnosed with cognitive issues, I knew how to talk to them, how to convince them to get in the ambulance and not put up a fight, not be so anxious, and be able to work with them. So, it was better for me, and I'm a better man because of that place. I tell people that I work my butt off for 50 weeks a year for 2 weeks.
But Rob,
Yes, sir.
you're gonna work the remainder of your life off for the same thing, right?
Oh yeah.
I ain't talking about Abby Civitan.
All right, clue me in. That ADD's got me befuddled.
Granddaddy.
Oh yeah, no.
No?
I'll talk with you offline.
Okay, brother.
So how many?
Everything's all good. All
how many
good in the
people
hood.
Going yearly now, Rob?
Excuse me?
How many go yearly now?
We typically have 100 on campus. For Youth Week, we typically have about 100 campers.
Yeah.
We have 100 counselors because they're one-on-one. They're buddied up for the week. And then we have a staff that runs anywhere between 75 and 100 of staffers that are around making sure that the counselors are all moving in the right direction, doing the right things. And we're there for if you've got a camper that's having a meltdown and the counselor is, because the counselor's a teenager, counselor's a high school kid, never seen anything like this happen. There's plenty of staff around to help get that camper unplopped, which is the unsub guys started calling people plop. They said they were going to make up a slur to call people that really wasn't a slur and just make it up and see if it would catch on. So they said, "Oh yeah, you dirty plop." They were talking but like that.
Who was the plop?
Plopping is one of the things that a Down syndrome guy, when you want them to go do something and they don't want to do it, they have they plop down on the ground and they're like a weeble.
Style.
You remember the weebles?
Yeah.
Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down.
Yeah.
You can't hardly pick up a Down syndrome. I don't know. They may weigh 150 pounds, but they weigh 600 pounds when you try to pick them up when they've plopped. You've got to talk them up. You've got to get them, hey, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. This is how we're going to do it. You got to convince them. Hey, you got to walk 75 yards that way, and you're getting supper. Oh, it's hamburgers tonight. Don't you want hamburgers?
You ain't gonna
Yeah.
plop on.
I said, well, we ain't bringing hamburgers here. If you want hamburgers, you got to go there. You just got to work with them.
Hey, what are we gonna do about Mr. Clean over here with his orange man tan going? I ain't the only one seeing that.
Mr.
Who?
Clean. Vic?
Yeah,
That's my Trump impression.
I see makeup on, dog. What the hell?
This the lighting I have outside on my deck.
I'm on my
He-
deck. I got my shit on. I turned it on before we started.
I did
Yeah,
too.
he's got one light over his deck.
No, I got a bunch.
You need to
Really?
turn your shit up because you look like Mr. Clean with a Trump tan.
No, I got the.
But he's not Mr. Clean. He's got hair up there on top of that head. It
Looks
just
like that some bitch is bald as Kojak right now, doesn't it? I know that's what I'm seeing. Kojak, what you doing? Change his name to Kojak, Robbie.
Telly
Oh.
Savalas.
Hold on, serious. How much money does it cost to run the Abby Rogers camp for 2 weeks?
It's around 50,000 for 2 weeks of camp. But I mean, like I said, the Civitans. I'm going to tell you this story. This is funny. When Abby started that camp, she got with the Hattiesburg Civitans, which is a civic organization. The Hattiesburg Civitans.
Yep.
And when I started at the camp, the name of the camp today would be considered completely non-PC. It was called Civitan Camp for Our Children.
Retarded children. That's right. You can't say that word today.
That was the name of the camp, Civitan Camp. It wasn't named Abby Rogers Civitan until posthumously. When Abby passed away, they changed the name of the camp to Abby Rogers Civitan Camp.
Did she leave money?
Excuse me?
Did Abby Rogers leave money for the camp?
No, she's the founder of it.
Did she leave no money?
Well, I mean, she put blood, sweat, tears, and money into that camp, personal money.
Sweat and tears don't run shit for decades.
Okay, that's where the Civitans came in, the Hattiesburg Civitans. They raised money for camp, and when that first year, Abby got up with them and said, "Look, I'm trying to put this camp on for these kids, and they got the tents for us and everything, but I really needed to get some money for cots." So the Hattiesburg Civitans said, well, let's raise you up some money and buy these cots. So they bought 18 cots for the campers. So they bought the cots. And then when it was at camp, Abby called them back and said, hey, you know what? We need some flashlights and stuff. So Abby, they supplied money. And then every year they said, well, we're going to do this again. And they added more money to it. And then finally, about 12, 13 years later, when the camp had moved over to Itacana, and the Civitans came and they were doing it. They did Tootsie Roll drives, or they'd get out in front of the stores and sell stuff to make money for Civitan camp. And the guy that was the president of the Civitans looked at Abby one time and said, those are the most expensive cots we ever bought. Because they started with 18 cots, and that camp became funded through those Civitans, which are local business leaders in the Hattiesburg area that got together, pooled money, and when they've got an endowment fund, and they put that money and they invest it, and they make money with the money and let it grow into itself so that the camp can afford to run. Because back then, even when I was a counselor, we might have 40 kids that were at camp. Now it's 100. It's just blown up.
How far do they come from?
The campers, they're all across Mississippi. We have a few that come from out of state, but they started in the Hattiesburg
Rob,
area
you
and
there?
moved away, and then they came back. They still get to come to camp. Once they've been at camp,
You back?
they get to come back. Yeah, you're there. You're just froze up, Vic. There you are.
Yeah.
Robert,
Yes, sir.
what would the $5,000 do for the camp?
$5,000, I would imagine, would supply probably close to the grocery budget for a week.
Oh.
I know it would cover. Oh, I said that we don't get paid. None of us get paid. That's not true. 100%. We all get a T-shirt. That's what we get paid for a week.
Like $12. That's outrageous.
Hey, wait, no. If we go there to camp like I do for 2 weeks, you still get a T-shirt.
Well, so that reduced the cost of the shirt down.
That's right. I saved them money on half a shirt.
Half a shirt. So it costs $6 an extra.
That's right. But and look, I not only volunteer, I donate stuff for the camp. Like the I'm Captain Rob at camp, and at camp I threw a lot of my money into getting stuff there to make the fishing what it is. And I've reached out to my old sponsors and got them to donate fishing equipment for us. And good Lord, Ferris Brothers has took care of us, and every year since I've been back at camp, every year I put together a list. In fact, I've got a list put together right now that's ready for me to go pick up. Because as you can imagine, the rod and reel combos, they get gone through, and I've got some of them that are out there that are 10 years old that have made it 10 years, but every year they give me like a half dozen rod and reel combos for the ones that are breaking and getting broke when something happens, which a lot of times it does. I've got another rod and reel that I can put in an angler's hand. So those kids have rods and reels. We get the bait donated to us. I've got a big tackle box where I can keep them hooked up. And this year we are going back to having a fishing tournament. I'll be bringing my scales and my basket to weigh and keeping up. And we've got trophies for every one of our anglers that participate. They're going to get a fishing trophy.
Awesome.
We'll talk closer. It'll be for next year, but we'll talk more about that.
You've got a perfectly great charity to go to.
Look, I got money left. I mean, there's stuff I can do outside of that. So I just got to figure out if it's needed.
Absolutely, it is. It's a 501c3, completely tax deductible.
My point is, if you didn't raise $1 today, what happens to Abby Rogers Civitan Camp?
Oh, it goes down. I mean, they'd still have the camp, but we wouldn't have. We would lose. Arts and crafts may not have the stuff they have to be able to do arts and crafts, or the spa may not have all the nice stuff that they've got to give those adults a spa treatment. I mean, the camp has grown so that we have a lot of expendables that we have to purchase. We've got an infirmary that is, an infirmary like a sick bay. We've got doctors that volunteer every night that campers are on campus. A doctor is spending the night at that camp. Okay? We've got nurses that are there at camp all the time, but we've got doctors that come through that volunteer a night. So every night we've got a doctor right there. If we've got to have a doctor, we've got one on campus.
All right. It's too late for this year. October, it may be better.
October,
I
we'll
can't
talk.
this year, but yeah, I want to find a way to tie the like Houston barbecue into. Look, we donated $5,000 to Memorial Behavioral Health for adult suicide prevention last year. Year before
Which
that, we did $13,000 for cooling caps for people getting chemotherapy.
right.
It didn't have to go to Memorial. As long as it's going to a 501, it doesn't matter. So if we raise 20,000 this year, I can send 10,000 to freaking Memorial and 10,000 to Laurel Hattiesburg Civitan. Well, it doesn't matter. I can figure it out. I just need to know if it makes a difference.
Oh, absolutely it does. Absolutely it does. Because everything that we built, the yacht club is what we call the lake. There's been a, it was built from funds from the Civitans on the Girl Scout campgrounds, but it was built by the Civitans because that's what we needed at camp to be able to get those campers rolled down to the Miss Abby, strapped in so they can get out in the lake. We needed
Straps from.
got the straps from a real cool guy. That yeah, I did. You got them for me.
Emergency vehicles. AEV.
It was AEV.
Yep, AAA ambulance vehicles.
Huh.
Right. He's the one that donated the wheelchair tie downs. You just called me and I made it happen.
Yeah, I called you, and you were the one that put me there so that we could secure them so they could get in that boat safely.
I know. It can't. AAV's been a Hattiesburg AAA supplier, ambulance manufacturer forever. And Robbie calls me one day. He says, "Mike, man, I need some wheelchair tie downs for this pontoon." I'm like, "Rob, you put a wheelchair kit on that freaking boat, it's gonna sink its ass off." I said, "You gonna hold them underwater?" He says, "No, we got it fixed. We got a new deck on it. We got this and this and this." I made one phone call. I think we got 6 sets of wheelchair tie downs.
Yep.
Probably overloaded that pontoon boat.
I only put 4 down.
We only put 4 of them in.
I only put 4 of them in. And now that boat, if you've ever been to, like, when you go to a amusement park and they've got where you go around the lagoon and they're telling you the stories about everything, it's set up like that. It's got that new great deck, and what they've done is there's no pontoon furniture in it anymore. It's got a little bitty console and a captain's chair for the guy running the boat, and then around the whole thing, you've got, or on the back side where you're trying to distribute all your weight, you've got the L-shaped seats that aren't pontoon seats. They were fabbed up metal seats with the composite decking as the seat in the back. And the same on the front. So it's water. Do what?
It sunk one day. A tornado got it or something, right?
No, that wasn't the Miss Abby. The Miss Abby, no, that was a fishing boat. One of our fishing boats that we brought out there.
I was thinking you had to rebuild this boat. All right. So anyway, so it's got composite deck, seats, L-shaped, wheelchair tie downs.
Right. And now, instead of it having on a pontoon boat, you know how it's got half the roof and then it's out in the open, everybody getting sunburned? Not the Miss Abby. From stem to stern, it's all covered up like it's a tour boat. So if it's raining, they're still kind of protected, and also it's protecting them from the sun.
Dude, I got to find a way to send some money north.
I tell you what, we'll talk about it more. We'll talk about it more come October when I'm there face to face, and Vic is there with you and not sideways.
Vic, what do you do, bro?
I just decided to lay down for a minute.
Why? Why you laying?
I lost internet connection, had to come back inside, and it just went sideways on me.
I got you. Let's see if it'll work itself out. You got maybe. There you go. There you go. Now we got the Star Life and V-Fib getting shocked and going back to a sinus rhythm.
I gotta pee.
There you go. We know the deal. Let's be quiet for 5 seconds, and then we can all take another 5-minute break.
We're gonna go a long time tonight. I think it's gonna be ugly.
A few moments later.
All right, back from the bathroom. So we all made it back, and we're all in a. Well, Mike and I had a little discussion that was offline. I think Mike is still mad. It's not mad at me, just mad at a situation that is going to remain private. But we're back. We've already solved the. Oh, and look, you know,
What?
we aren't going to have to send any more troops over there. We aren't putting boots on the ground over there.
I don't think that's gonna happen. I think we finna bomb them some bitches one more time to finish what we started and we done over there.
I don't think we are, unless we have to use a bunker buster, and you know, I don't doubt that Trump's doing what he can with that ceasefire that we got going on, and you know, this thing won't be airing until Friday morning. I may be full of shit right when this thing posts on Friday morning, but I'm thinking on Friday morning, I'm thinking it's going to be over.
No,
You don't think?
I don't believe Iraq at all.
You know what?
And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm a little butthurt. We didn't go in and do a little bit more than what we've done.
Yeah.
Then
We lit a fire on a fart. That's all we did. We should
that's
have
right.
blown their body out.
Well, but what we
It's
did was
gonna rain and put it out.
the power that we projected. Like I said, we went in, dropped those weapons. They didn't see. You got to put that right in front of you, Mike, right here, because when you move it away, there you go. The bug assault. You're fixing to light up a fly.
I was just showing you what I'd have done to them gosh damn Iranians.
I'm gonna tell you, I seen a lot of people posted on social media when that took place. They were mad and crying that their kids, they're 17 and 18 and 19, are crying because they're scared they might have to go to war, and parents are mad because they don't want their kids to go to war. Freedom is not free.
That's it. I'm sorry, don't enlist.
I'm sorry, don't live in America if you can't fight for this country.
I got a daggum 1776 on my shoulder. The original stars here, and I got a gosh dang flag on the back. Don't tread on me, buddy.
That's right.
I'm
I got you. I don't think the draft's going to happen, so I think the 16 and 17-year-old, if they're freaking out, we aren't going to be in a draft situation. One, the military, since January, the numbers of people signing up, we've pretty much filled up, and we're able to start culling back. No, you can't come in because we're bringing this guy in. Is going on.
Yeah.
Too damn stupid. Too soft.
Well,
Most recruiters have already met their quotas.
Right.
Well, I just don't understand the thought process of this younger generation. It's nothing like it was in the 50s, 60s, 70s, even
No.
early 80s. We went to war. People wanted to go. Defend this country, do what's right.
All right, every one of us in this chat except for Mike. Mike, you're a boomer. Mike Jones is a boomer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an old fucker.
Wait, Vic, you're a boomer.
He's younger than me.
I caught the tail end of it.
How old are you, Vic?
60. I was born in 64.
When?
He 64.
All right,
You and I, Mike, you and I are Gen X by 8 months.
Yeah. Well, them some bitches 8 months earlier than us are about the same as us. So.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying though is, you know, our parents were baby boomers or before the silent generation.
Yeah.
And so, you know, they raised us. They wanted us to have it better than they did. I think every generation wants their kid to have it better than they did. Then we came along. We started popping out kids. We started popping out the damn millennials. That was us. Not only did we I popped out 2 millennials and a Gen Zer. And you know what? My Gen Z is more in line with me than my two millennials are.
I can tell you what, my millennials knew I'd beat that ass if they got in trouble.
Back.
Well, I didn't spare the rod with any of my kids.
Paul Thorne says, spare the rod, use your hand.
Yeah. Or that leather belt.
Well,
Whoop that ass.
Growing up in the country, we had a propane tank and it was made round. And my daddy explained that to me. You know why that's round, son?
so you can lay over it.
Lay over it, and when these heat hits you off this belt, it's going to hang in them britches for a while on that butt.
Boy, you go out there and pass me a switch. You finna get your ass whooped.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, we were of that generation.
Change that to the switch generation.
Yeah.
With me, I would give them swats with an open hand, but
I'd beat them.
you,
Child abuse.
but
Touch you with a hand, you beat them.
But Ryan, the last time I ever had to give him a spanking, he was in like second grade. He doesn't even remember that spanking that he got from me. But the last time I gave him a spanking, he was in second grade. But he knew. I said, boy, do we need to go out to that bench? Because that's where spankings were doled out. They were always doled out. I had a park bench out there next to my shop. And that's where all the spankings were doled out. First, we talked about how you screwed up, and this is what you're getting to remember that you screwed up. Oh, yeah. Then he'd get his spanking, and then I calmed him down, talked to him, explained it more. We worked it out. We were better. He went on about his way.
Mine was go down behind the barn and wait on me. And then I heard that little speech, this is going to hurt me more than it hurts you, son. You got your butt tore
That's
up.
bullshit. It never hurt me more than it hurt them.
I did not like whooping my kid's ass.
I didn't like it, but I mean,
it hurt
if they
my heart to whoop their ass, but I hope that they learned a lesson
Right.
that was more valuable than the heart hurt I took.
That's right.
Oh, they did. They did.
I hope they did.
So let me tell you this story. So Rhino, the reason he got the last spanking he ever got was because he lied to me. He used to love playing. I had that old black Xbox, and he had a game on there that he loved to play. And if he got a happy face, he used to get to play the Xbox for about an hour before we broke off and did homework. And then he ate, and then we'd do family night, watching TV or whatever. But he got that hour Xbox if he had a happy face. Well, he had a frown face one day and told me he had a happy face. He didn't understand this whole concept about I get a sheet of paper that shows what face he had. So he told me he had a happy face. So I said, okay, son, go ahead and get in there on the Xbox. He goes in there, he's playing on the Xbox and everything. I go in there and I go through the book bag and look. And he doesn't. He's got a sad face. He's talking in class or something. He got a sad face. He talked enough times to get a sad. But I got so dang mad because he said he lied to me. So I went in, I turned the Xbox off, and I told him, I said, sit there for a few minutes till I figure out how I'm going to do this. I said, then we're going to go talk. So I calmed down. I said, what I want to impress upon this boy is not to lie to me. So I went and I said, all right, son, we're going to the bench. He started crying because the walk to the bench was worse. That's the walk to get the switch off the tree and coming back with it. He knows it's coming. We're walking to the bench together. He's trying to bargain with me. So he gets his 3 licks. Pop, pop, pop. Now, I'm pretty solid. Now, when he was a kid and it was a diaper and you pop him on the butt, it just startled him, you know. They didn't feel anything. He's in second grade now. He's got drawers on. When I pop him, he's feeling those pops on that rear. He's crying. I get him calmed down. And I finally said, son, I said, you didn't get this because you were talking in class. That spanking came because you lied to me. I said, you don't tell a lie. If I ask you something, you tell me the truth. I'd rather you tell me the truth, stand flat-footed on the ground, tell me the truth if it sounds bad, than to climb a tree and tell a lie. So I told him, I said, because if you'll lie to me, you'll steal from me. You know, that's the beginning. If you'll lie to me, you'll steal from me.
Right.
So he understood. He was okay. I said, now look, this is today. Tomorrow you start over. You make the right choices tomorrow. You do what's right tomorrow. So the next day, he comes in from school, or he comes from the classroom, he comes to me, he said, Daddy, I got a straight face. Straight up, I got a straight face. All right, well, usually if you get 2 days in a row of not a smiley face, you were getting a punishment. And I said, well, I said, you know, straight face means you don't get your Xbox today. Yes, sir, I know. I said, okay. So,
Ass whooping today.
do what? No, he didn't get an ass whooping. Wait. So I get there and I pull the sheet out to see, because on the back, when you see the straight face or the frown face or the smiley, they tell you, they wrote why they got that. So I flip it over on the back and I read what this teacher wrote. She said, Ryan joined in with a bunch of other boys calling the janitor garbage lady and laughing and pointing at her.
Ass whooping.
I went in, shut the Xbox off again, told him, go sit in your room on the bed. I said, I'll be in there in about 20 minutes. I had to calm down. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, what would Andy Griffith do? How is he going to get Opie to do what's right? You know, how is he going to get Opie to be...
Turn your ass on, you got to whoop him.
How is he going to get Opie to be the keeper of the lantern rather than the keeper of the flame? Or does anybody remember that episode besides me?
Vaguely. I'm trying to think about it, but yeah.
So anyway, I said, okay. I calmed down. And I knew what I was going to do. I knew what he was going to say. So I got all the paraphernalia I needed, and I walked to his room, and I said, son, I said, you may have got a straight face today, but you should have got a frowny face with tears coming out the eyes. I said, you don't ever join in with anybody and point and laugh and call somebody names. And I said, you don't do that. I said, that's just not right. I said, so, you know, this is your second day. Usually your second day of not being on a smiley face, you're going to get a lick. I said, but here's the deal. I said, this is going to be another 3-lick day, or you can have alternate punishment. And he says, what's alternate punishment? I said, well, it ain't licks. He said, I'll take some of that. And I said, okay. Pulled out of my back pocket a trash bag I had. Come on, garbage man.
Woo!
I walked him down Columbus Drive from our house all the way down to the East Lake entrance. He picked up every piece of trash, me laughing at him, pointing, calling him garbage man. Neighbors come out, what the hell are you doing? I said, oh, garbage man thinks it's funny to talk about the janitor at school, calling her garbage lady. Do you have some trash you need garbage man to get? And they're like, oh yeah, he can get this. So he was going in, picking up all that trash, crying the whole time. Bloody murder. It was worse than he cried when he got the licks. When we got done, we got back to that bench and we sat down, we talked about it. And I said, you calm now? He quit crying. I said, how did that feel? Did you like that? He said, no. I said, okay. I said, how do you think the janitor felt? He said, well, she didn't cry. I said, no, she didn't cry because she's a full-grown woman that has a way of being able to push that stuff down. I said, but she didn't feel any better than you did, I promise. I said, she wakes up every morning, gets up and goes to that school and makes sure you have a clean place to learn. She makes sure that everything is nice and tidy. She probably didn't have a school like that to go to when she was a kid because, Ryan was going to private school. I said, she didn't have the opportunities you've got. And I said, let me tell you something. You ain't no better than she is. He looked at me. I said, but ain't nobody in this world any better than you are either. I said, we're all in this thing together. And I said, we got to act like that. I said, now what do you think you need to do? He says, I need to tell her I'm sorry. I said, absolutely you do. And I need to know that you did. And I said, but before you're done, I want you to go around the yard and pick up any trash you might find out there. Because I knew there was trash. I knew there was some, shit that he had left out in the yard and stuff like that. But I also knew, because Ryan was afraid to touch a fish in 2nd grade. And I knew I had a bass in a pond, a goldfish pond that was built up that jumped out of the goldfish pond and was dead in the backyard. I knew it was back there. I said, so I want you to pick up any trash, any sticks or limbs that doesn't go in there. Let's fill this bag up. Any dead animals I want you to pick up and put in this bag. And he goes around. And it wasn't, 5 minutes later, I hear, Dad, because I'm out there messing around the boat. And I said, yeah. He said, come here. So I went back there, and there's this bass down on the ground. He says, your fish is dead. I said, yeah, we'll put it in the bag. He says, I don't want to touch it. I said, well, let's go back over there to the bench. You can get your 3 licks and be done with this. He said, hold the bag. He picked up that bass and put it in the bag, and I didn't have to worry about him until the next day after school. When I go to pick him up, because you go to the front to the office to pick him up, well, they said, the teacher wants to see you in the classroom. I'm like, oh, shit. Not the 3rd day in a row. So I go in there, and she said, I need to talk to you. Ryan, go up there and sit by the principal's office and let me talk to your dad. I'm going, oh, shit, what's he done now? And she pulls me and she goes, what did you do to your son? And I'm like, oh, my God. I said,
taught him a lesson.
I said, I taught him a lesson. I told him that, he couldn't treat people like that. And I made him pick up trash up and down the road. And she goes, oh, my God. He was the only one of those boys that came back and he had made her a card, an I'm sorry card, pretty much. He called it a Valentine's card, but it was an I'm sorry card, apologizing to the lady, and gave it to her and gave her a big hug and told her, thank you for making sure I've got such a good place to learn. That's what he told her. And the teacher said, I wish all my parents were like this. I said, oh, my God, I thought you were fixing to get on me. But she was happy that I did that. He was the only one of those kids that went back and gave that woman her proper due.
We need 54 million more parents like you, Rob.
That's right.
Amen.
54 million school-age kids.
Need 54 million kids that don't want that butt whipping like they had the day before.
Hey, you're going to pick your shit up and shut your mouth. You get off the fire.
Hey, Rob,
Yes, sir.
I'm going to have to bail out. I've enjoyed. I got low battery already. I've hit the low power mode.
All right. Well, look,
Wrap
Vic,
it up,
I'm glad you came in. Folks, I guess that's going to be it for tonight. Thank you for coming back for another episode of Getting 10-8, and we look for you come next week. Don't know who we're going to have, but we know we're going to have a good time anytime you get us ADD, neurodivergent bastards all together that's retired. There's no telling where the conversation's going, but it's going to be worth listening to. Come back and see us next week.